There are certain forces that do not belong to just one realm. They are not confined by time, location, or even form. They are spiritual powers so fundamental that they echo across every dimension, whether physical or non-physical, human or celestial, dense or light. These 7 powers are not myths, nor are they gifts for a chosen few. They are part of a divine blueprint embedded into the very structure of consciousness. We don't learn them as much as we remember them, and once remembered, they begin to activate. Subtly at first, then overwhelmingly. And the moment they do, your life stops being random. It becomes intentional. It becomes alchemical. It becomes multi-dimensional. I know because I've seen it. I've witnessed people who were drowning in confusion suddenly tap into one of these powers without knowing it had a name, and everything changed. Not externally at first. Not like magic spells or cinematic miracles. But internally, where the real transformations happen. Their perception shifted, their energy restructured, their reality mirrored the alignment, and the irony is they didn't even realize they had stepped into a law that governs all realms. That's how close these powers are. They are not out there. They are right here, beneath your skin, pulsing through your awareness, waiting for acknowledgement. These 7 spiritual powers are not concepts to memorize. They are frequencies to embody. They are states of being that, once activated, begin to communicate with every layer of existence at once. Think of them like master keys. When one turns, doors open not just in your life, but in the unseen. Because in truth, there is no separation between dimensions. There is only separation in awareness. And the more aware you become, the more multidimensional your influence becomes. So before we dive into what the 7 powers are, we need to understand one more thing: they don't belong to you. You belong to them. You partner with them. You align with them. And when you do, you stop operating from effort and start moving from resonance. That's the first clue that you've stepped out of the matrix of the mind and into the architecture of the soul. Life stops being a problem to solve and becomes a frequency to tune into. And from that space, the powers begin to surface. The first power is presence. Not just being physically still, but spiritually available. Presence is the foundation because it collapses time. When you are truly present, you are not bound by the past or pulled by the future. You are in the now, which is the only portal that exists in every dimension. You can't bring the future into your body. You can't relive the past physically, but you can access everything from the present moment. That is why presence is not just mindfulness, it is a dimensional anchor. Presence allows you to see truth without distortion. It quiets the noise of fear, ego, doubt, and distraction. It allows you to feel the subtle. And that's important because the other spiritual powers are not loud. They don't scream for attention. They whisper. And unless you're present, you'll miss them. This is why people can pray and meditate for years and still feel disconnected, because they're doing presence, not becoming presence. So ask yourself now, when was the last time you were fully here, without needing to change anything? And if you were, what did you sense that you normally miss? The second power is intention. Not goal setting, not desire, not wishful thinking. Intention is the focused frequency of your will, aligned with your highest truth. When you hold pure intention, you're not just sending a signal into the world, you're sending a command into the field. This field exists in every dimension. It is the underlying matrix of all form and formlessness. Intention cuts through that matrix like a blade, but it only activates when it's infused with integrity. You can't fake high-frequency intention. It must come from alignment, not manipulation. This is why so many people don't get what they intend, because what they say and what they vibrate are 2 different things. You can't trick the field. The field responds to coherence, not noise. And that's where most people fall short. They think they want something, but deep down they are broadcasting fear, doubt, or contradiction. Intention only works when it is clean. So ask yourself, what are you actually broadcasting when you say you want something? Is your energy aligned with your words or working against them? The third power is resonance. This is the language of the universe. Everything is vibration. Every thought, every emotion, every belief carries a frequency. And frequencies don't lie. They either attract or repel. They either magnetize or dissolve. Resonance is why you feel instant connection with some people and discomfort with others. It's not about their personality, it's about their frequency signature. And the same goes for experiences, opportunities, and spiritual experiences. You don't chase them, you match them. What this means is that your outer world doesn't respond to your effort, it responds to your essence. If you want to experience peace, you must first resonate with it, not just say it, be it. If you want to meet higher guides, you must raise your frequency to theirs. They won't lower theirs to meet you in despair. Darkness may, but light won't. So resonance becomes your compass, not what's right or wrong, but what feels true in your field. And the more you attune to resonance, the more you stop forcing life and start harmonizing with it. These three powers, presence, intention, and resonance, are the foundation. They are the doorway. They govern your access to higher states of consciousness and deeper realities. Without them, the other powers can't fully activate. You may touch them, you may glimpse them, but you won't embody them. And embodiment is the goal, because embodiment is what makes these powers real, not just in theory, but in your reality. So I ask you now, what would happen if you stopped chasing outcomes and started aligning your frequency with truth? What would your life look like if every thought, every word, and every step you took came from deep presence, pure intention, and unwavering resonance? That version of you exists. Not in the future, not in another world, but right now, waiting for you to remember.
Click subscribe to this channel to get more profound spiritual lesson.
When we begin to understand that spiritual power doesn't come from belief, but from laws, not religious laws, but energetic ones, we start to see that everything is operating with astonishing precision. Nothing is random. Nothing is accidental. What you call synchronicity or coincidence is actually the visible echo of an invisible mechanism. That mechanism is governed by spiritual principles that don't change based on your opinion, emotional state, or belief system. Just like gravity doesn't care if you believe in it, these laws function regardless of whether you're aware of them. But awareness gives you leverage, it gives you access. And access gives you influence, not control, but alignment. And that alignment is where real spiritual power begins. Let's talk about the fourth spiritual power, alignment. Alignment means your inner world and outer actions are congruent. It means your thoughts, your feelings, your energy, and your behaviors are all pointing in the same direction. Most people live fractured. They say one thing, feel another, and act out of fear. And then they wonder why nothing flows. But you can't fool the energetic architecture. If your heart is longing for expansion, but your thoughts are rooted in self-doubt, you are in a state of energetic conflict. And conflict creates static. Static clouds intuition. Static distorts manifestation. Static pulls you into timelines that are not yours. Alignment is not perfection. It's coherence. It's honesty. You may not feel high vibe every day, but can you be true every day? Can you be in integrity with what your soul knows, even when your mind is afraid? That's alignment. And that's what every dimension responds to. Because when you're aligned, you're not just participating in life, you're communicating with the field in a unified voice. And the field listens to coherence. It bends around clarity. It responds to truth. Not emotional truth, but spiritual truth, the kind that doesn't waver just because your mood does. The fifth spiritual power is perception. Now, most people think perception is just how you view the world. But at a deeper level, perception is your interface with reality. It's the lens that determines what dimension you're tuned into. Two people can be in the same room, but one is experiencing fear, the other piece not because of the room, but because of their perception. So what does this mean spiritually? It means that the way you see is the way you create. And this is not metaphorical, it's vibrational. When your perception is rooted in ego or trauma, you filter everything through distortion. You see threats where there are none. You see lack where there is abundance. You see isolation where there is connection. But when perception is purified through presence, intention, and alignment, you begin to see from your soul, not your story. And that's when miracles happen, because perception, once purified, becomes vision. And vision is not just foresight. It is the ability to see the divine where others see the mundane. It is the ability to see opportunity where others see endings. It is the ability to see yourself not as broken, but as becoming. So ask yourself this: what distortions are you still perceiving through? Whose lens are you seeing life with, your soul's or your conditionings? Because if your perception is not your own, then your power isn't either. Now, the sixth spiritual power is transmutation. This is one of the most sacred powers we have, and yet it's the least understood. Transmutation is the ability to take energy in one form and elevate it into another. Pain into wisdom, fear into courage, anger into clarity. It is the alchemical process of turning density into light, and every soul can do it. But few do, because it requires presence, patience, and permission. You must be willing to feel what you once avoided. You must be willing to sit with discomfort and listen to what it's trying to teach you. Only then can you transmute it. We were never meant to bypass our pain. We were meant to alchemize it. Your wounds are not blocks to your path, they are the path. Because in every shadow lies the seed of a gift. And transmutation is the process of unlocking that gift. This is why the most spiritually powerful people are not the ones who have avoided suffering, they're the ones who have danced with it, learned from it, and used it to deepen their light. So I ask you, what part of you have you been trying to escape that is actually waiting to become your greatest power? Transmutation is not about fixing yourself. It's about freeing yourself. It's about removing the labels that say, this is bad, this is shameful, this is broken, and instead asking, what is this energy trying to evolve into? Because every emotion is energy in motion, and when emotion is honored, it transforms. That's the secret. These powers, alignment, perception, and transmutation, not just spiritual ideas. They are technologies. Inner technologies that, once activated, begin to modify your experience across every realm. They change the way you relate not just to yourself, but to time, to space, to others, to the unseen. You begin to operate from your core frequency, not your surface identity. And when you do, everything around you begins to reorganize itself to match that frequency. You don't have to chase spiritual power. You don't have to earn it. You only have to clear the interference. And that interference is never in the world. It's in your mind, in your emotional body, in your attachments to who you think you are. Let go of that, and you don't become powerful. You remember that you already are. Most people think darkness barges into their lives like a thief in the night, loud, violent, and obvious. But that's a myth. Dark powers almost never force their way in. They don't have to, because we unknowingly invite them, not with rituals or spells, but with something far more insidious. Our unconscious agreements. These invisible contracts are forged in moments we barely notice, moments of emotional collapse, mental exhaustion, or spiritual disconnection. And we sign them not with ink, but with belief. Let me explain. Every time you believe something untrue about yourself, you create an energetic agreement. I'm not worthy. Signed. Nothing ever works out for me. Signed. I'll never be loved the way I want. Signed. These statements may seem like harmless thoughts or emotional expressions, but they carry immense creative power. They are not passive, they are activations. Each one echoes into the energetic field and joins a frequency that attracts the very reality you fear. That's how darkness works. Not through brute force, but through consent. Here's the twist. You can be completely unaware of what you've agreed to, and yet still suffer the consequences. That's how precise the architecture is. You don't have to say, I give permission. Your energy says it for you. Your patterns say it. Your avoidance says it. Darkness doesn't speak your language. It speaks your vibration. If your energy says, "I'm afraid to be seen," you attract experiences that reinforce invisibility. If your vibration says, "I'll never break free of this pain," then pain becomes your teacher by default. Not because you're cursed, but because your agreement made it so. Now, you might be asking, how can I be held accountable for something I didn't consciously agree to? The answer lies in a hard but liberating truth. Your unconscious mind is still you. The parts of you that you haven't healed, haven't loved, haven't integrated, they're still broadcasting. They're still writing energetic contracts, even if the conscious you is trying your best to be positive, spiritual, or awakened. That's why so many people feel stuck, even after years of affirmations, therapy, or meditation. They're fighting a battle on the surface while the war is being lost in the depths. So how do we begin to unravel these contracts? The first step is radical self-honesty. You must become a detective of your own beliefs. What do you believe about love? About money? About your body? About your purpose? Don't just recite what you think you believe. Look at your life. Your reality is the evidence. If you say you believe you're worthy, but your relationships are filled with neglect, that's a sign of a deeper agreement. If you claim abundance but live in constant scarcity, that's a contract waiting to be seen. The second step is awareness in real time. Begin to notice the moments when you're about to react from an old belief. Pause. Breathe. Ask yourself, what am I agreeing to right now? That question alone can disrupt years of programming. Because most of the time, our agreements aren't made in words, they're made in emotion. In that flash of jealousy, that wave of shame, that quiet resignation. These are the emotional signatures of spiritual agreements. And once you see them, you can renegotiate. Yes, renegotiation is possible. You can tear up the old contracts, but not with force, with presence. Every time you choose to respond differently, to speak truth instead of shadow, to love instead of shrink, you are rewriting your energetic agreements. And as you do, the influence of darkness can no longer find a foothold, not because you fought it, but because you are no longer available to it. Here's what they don't tell you. Darkness is not interested in your power. It's interested in your permission. And when you stop giving it, it loses access. You don't need to defeat it. You just need to outgrow the version of you that once needed it. Because that's the real function of darkness. It mirrors the parts of you that are still unhealed. It doesn't come to destroy you. It comes to expose what you've forgotten to look at. So let me ask you this. What silent contracts have you signed without knowing? What suffering have you accepted as normal? What identities have you clung to that were never yours to begin with? And more importantly, are you ready to dissolve those agreements by becoming someone new? This is the moment where transformation begins. Not in the light, but in the shadow, in the willingness to look at what hurts, to feel what you've numbed, to reclaim what you've given away. Because once you do, you don't just break free, you rise. And when you rise, darkness becomes irrelevant. Not because it no longer exists, but because it no longer owns any part of you. There is no deception more powerful, more cunning, and more spiritually lethal than this. Darkness doesn't always try to scare you, it tries to become you. It doesn't knock on your door dressed as a monster. It slips into your thoughts, your voice, your identity, until you can no longer tell where it ends and you begin. And when that happens, you don't resist it. You defend it. You protect the very thing that is sabotaging you because you believe it is you. That's the final trick, the most dangerous one of all. Think about it. When you hear that inner voice telling you you're not enough, when you feel that urge to give up, when you spiral into guilt or shame or rage, who do you think is speaking? Most people assume it's their own mind, their own trauma, their own truth. But what if it's not? What if what you've been calling me is actually a program, a parasite, an echo of something that was never yours to begin with? What if you've been carrying foreign energy your whole life and mistaking it for your personality? Darkness doesn't overpower you. It impersonates you. That's the game. It weaves itself into your thoughts so seamlessly that you begin to say things like, "That's just who I am. I've always been this way. I can't help it." You build an identity around pain. You normalize dysfunction. You justify limitation. Not because you're weak, but because you've forgotten who you are without the interference. That's what darkness wants to make you forget. Because when you forget, you stop resisting. You settle. This is why spiritual awakening is not a gentle process. It's violent in the sense that it shatters illusions. It rips the veil away from your perception and forces you to confront all the places where you've been living a lie. And the hardest lie to face is the one that says, "This is who I am." Because to evolve, you must be willing to let parts of yourself die. Not the real you, the false you. The self that was built from wounds, from fear, from programming. That version must fall apart, or the real you can never rise. So how do you break the illusion? How do you separate your voice from the voice of darkness? It starts with one simple but profound shift, becoming the observer. The moment you step back and witness your thoughts without identifying with them, you reclaim your power. You start to notice, wait, who is narrating this? Who told me I'll never be enough? Who benefits from me staying small? That moment of separation is the crack where light enters. It's where the spell begins to break. But you must be relentless. Darkness doesn't leave because you had one moment of clarity. It tests you. It waits. It shapeshifts. It tries to crawl back in through back doors, through your insecurities, your relationships, your addictions. That's why awareness must become your daily practice. Not just during meditation or prayer, but in every moment. When you speak, ask, who is speaking? When you choose, ask, who is choosing? When you feel, ask, is this truly mine? Because here's the truth, you are not your fear. You are not your trauma. You are not your past. You are not even your thoughts. You are the one who sees it all. Consciousness, presence, light. And when you live from that place, darkness loses its grip. Not because it disappears, but because it can no longer deceive you. Let me leave you with this. The final trick of darkness is to make you forget your divinity, to convince you that you are limited, broken, unworthy. But you are never any of those things. You are infinite. You are sacred. You are not here to survive darkness, you are here to transform it. Not by fighting it, but by remembering who you are in the face of it. So ask yourself now, who am I without the noise? Who am I without the fear? Who am I when I no longer mistake my wounds for my identity? Because when you answer that question not with your mind, but with your life, you become untouchable. You become undeniable. You become a being of such clarity that darkness can no longer trick you, tempt you, or pretend to be you. And that changes everything.